Doctors made a huge mistake when they decided to pull the plug on this month-old baby. In the hospital bathroom, Sarah Rodriguez was putting on her dress and preparing to spend the last minutes with her month-old baby Alice as she died. The doctor said there was no chance to save her life. She had bacterial meningitis and sepsis. The woman had made the painful decision to keep the little daughter in her hands while the doctors removed her ventilator tube. The situation was even more tragic to remember the extraordinary circumstances that had led to Alice's birth. Sarah's husband Joel had been diagnosed with a devastating disease in 2010, kidney cancer. While he was in remission after undergoing chemotherapy, the couple decided to take IVF. The couple had been trying to get pregnant for 3 years, and when the procedure finally went through, they were in seventh heaven. They gave birth to their first son Milo in July 2012. However, their joy didn't last even for a week. 3 days after the delivery, Joel found out that his cancer had returned. Here we were, balancing the joy of finally having this long-awaited son with the grief of the fact that we were fighting for his life once again, Sarah said in a radio interview with the Church Boys. Despite all the treatments, the cancer spread too much for Joel's body to overcome it. The man died at just 35, a year after his son's birth. Shortly before his death, Sarah had a strange conversation with her husband. They talked about having a baby daughter together. We were sitting in his room and I was rubbing his back and he said, "You and I are gonna have another child and it'll be a little girl," she recalled to the Church Boys. I said, "Okay," and I'm looking at him thinking there's no way we're gonna have a child with our situation like it is, she said. And he said, "No, we'll have another child and it'll be a girl and you know what to name her." Joel was talking about her dream she'd been holding on to for years. She wanted to have a daughter someday and call her Alice. "We kinda just tucked that in my back pocket. If we ever have a girl, that's a really cool name for her," Rodriguez explained later. After Joel passed away, the woman couldn't forget his words. "Once he died, that was one of the first things my mind went to," she told the Church Boys. "The conversation where he was telling me that that's what we're gonna have." In fact, it was not quite so impossible, as the couple had frozen a sample of Joel's sperm when undertaking IVF. Luckily, there were remaining embryos in a fertility clinic. A little piece of Joel left, as Rodriguez said in an interview. So the woman came up with a really difficult decision. She implanted the embryos. Whatever was supposed to happen would happen, she said. Fortunately, she fell pregnant on November 6, 2014, and the mom of one became mom of two, a boy and a little baby girl called Alice. Against all odds, Joel's words came true. However, in just 2 weeks, Alice was sluggish and hot to the touch. Sarah instantly decided to take her to the pediatrician. The doctors there told her to take Alice to the ER of a local hospital. On the same day, the baby was diagnosed with sepsis and bacterial meningitis in the Children's Hospital of Oklahoma City. "By that evening, my beautiful, healthy daughter was on a ventilator fighting for life," Rodriguez recalled. Alice's condition was extremely bad, and the doctors said that even if she did manage to pull through, she'd be left in a vegetative state. "I didn't understand why the miracle of life, why her name, this conversation with my husband, if it was all gonna end at this point," Rodriguez recalled in the podcast. The doctor said there was no hope her baby would survive. When Alice stopped breathing on her ventilator, Rodriguez agreed to take it away and let her daughter pass away in a natural way. She asked to hold Alice the last time skin to skin, as she had at birth. After that, Sarah went to the hospital bathroom to put on her dress. Meanwhile, medics were unhooking the little girl from all her tubes and wires. They had left only one on her foot just to know when the baby slipped away. "So I put her on my chest and I started reading her first and last book. We had music playing and I was singing to her," Rodriguez remembered. But then, out of the blue, one more miracle happened. Alice was coming back to life rather than passing away. Time went on and she let out a cry and she was just moving and wiggling around. And she wasn't seizing. She'd been seizing for weeks and weeks straight. As soon as they put her on my chest, she just completely stopped, the mother recalled. She started breathing on her own and her vital signs normalized. The mom recalled, "We're all looking around the room thinking, what's happening? Because her vitals hadn't been fine for weeks, and here all of a sudden she's off the tubes, off the medicine, she's in my arms and everything's back to perfection." Even though the doctors said it might be a temporary comeback and the baby might still die, it didn't happen. In a week, Alice was released from hospital. Everybody was amazed the girl survived. At the time of the podcast, Alice was almost 2. The girl had physical and occupational therapy once a week at home. "She's doing well, she's playing catch-up in some areas, but in other areas she's ahead of the curve," Rodriguez said. "She's talking and singing all kinds of words and eating finger food and rolling and sitting up and standing." Nowadays, Sarah is extremely happy to share her lovely 3-year-old girl's progress on her social media accounts. These are not the only exciting news. 3 years after Joel's death, the woman fell in love one more time. It was her high school crush. They got married in October 2017, led down the aisle by her son Milo, and observed by her little daughter Ellis.